down here and dwell in the world as your black dots to save your ass from the inside out. Now let me explain this again. This is an artificial entity, and all the universe and all the physical creation you see is that of a subordinate deity. A subordinate deity is a lesser deity that is telling you it's God and telling you to worship it in church. So as a result, to clean it off, the original creator had to break himself off in little pieces, little sparks, and come down here and rest into your head so you can be an agent to tear up this world. But these little sparks is the same part of the original creator, is the same damn God, which makes you God. Or in this case, you the Most High. There is no difference between the spark that is in you, which is the crystalline dew, which is the philosopher's stone, which is the melanin, which is the seed, which is the pebble, which is the rock, which is the black dot, is the same as the God up here that's got to come and deal with this artificial entity who is halfway formed, which you have to worship because he's an inferior deity and he needs you to worship him to give him power over your ass. But as long as you stop worshiping him and start cultivating the seed in you, which is the same as the God up here, which is in you, you rise. But as long as you worship a deity outside of yourself in church, you keep that deity in power. Because he's an inferior deity and he needs your energy because the seed inside of you is the seed of the Most High. Same thing, same energy. And he needs your energy to help him keep in power. You getting this? By calling his name. Being obedient to this God, a subordinate deity. So, dealing with this, I want to read this to you. Because this is profound, and we're going to go into a question and answer, but I want to read this to you. It says that man, the real gnostic, which is the true person that has gnosis, knowing, knowledge, is supposed to be in opposition between this world and this creation, which is a subordinate deity, and against God, which is a subordinate deity. The entire sensuous universe is expressed as judged as evil because it's a closed-off sector, and you're not seeing the true universe, which in actuality is not up or down, it's dimensional. It's right around your ass. But he closed you off in a physical body and you can't see shit. Because you got these two eyes, which is a cheat, and the eyes of the devil. Now, the whole universe is seen as evil. God is not, which is our God. They say that. Our God is not held responsible either for the evil the evil that is in this world or for the world itself, which is evil. This world is evil. They say in the serious mystery, or the pale box, if you can get it, that the earth is a part of Ogu's placenta, and Ogu, in there is the devil. So it says that the true God, the true deity, is not responsible for this world and this creation, which is evil. So the God that you are dealing with, who created this world, is the damn devil. It says, is not held responsible or either for the evil in this world or for the world itself, which is evil. He absolutely transcends this world. He has no relation to this world, for any relation would debase him. It would be silly, whatever that means, and purely to make him, in this case, to be, no, let me, I gotta slow down. It says, let me slow down. I want to get this right. For any relation to the world would debase him and enslave him. It would sully, whatever that means, his impenetrable purity. So what that means, it would cut his purity in half. and make him a case to be God in the supreme sense of the term. Now, God did not produce the world, and he does not rule over it. This particular God that they're talking about, which is the Most High. He does not rule, he didn't produce it, he does not rule over it. He is not known by the world, and of the world, and in the world, which is not his work or his government. If he intervenes in the world, it is to save man from the world, to encompass and escape out of the world, not to accomplish anything whatever through the world. Thus the transcendent God. So what it means is the deity that we're talking about. I have to slow down sometime to get this shit right. The deity that we're talking about has nothing to do with this particular world. The deity that we have been learning about, that's supposed to be all about this world, is the damn devil, an evil creation. The God we're talking about did not create this world. Only thing he did was he broke himself off a piece to come down here as us to save us. So look to nobody to save you but the goddamn piece that he broke off that's in you, that is this piece. You get it? So that means that the physical brain is the enemy. This is some amazing stuff. It's the enemy. That means that you must go against the order of your original thought in which you are trained to live on this earth. So that means that insanity becomes reality, and reality becomes utterly insane. And you're supposed to be looking at reality as a form of insanity. You got to reverse things to get out of this. If this is the damn jailhouse and a servitude and we're doing time on jail on earth, you just don't know because you was born in the damn prison. And you just, you just trying to get new bedspreads and new toilet seats in a fucking prison. But it's still a prison. So therefore, everything that you have been socialized to function in the prison, you got to throw out the doggone door, and you got to be totally opposite. Because we're not talking about what world religion put down here to sustain this society. We're talking about, at this particular time, the gods of revelation, or the entities of revelation, who has nothing to do with the laws of this shit. We coming in to clean this motherfucker off. And that's what's actually going down at this particular time. So what we're going to do is, we're going to go into a question and answer, because time is not on our side most of the time. We're going to go into a question and answer. Huh? Okay, and that way we can get a good question and answer going, because your answers are actually questions. Your questions are actually answers. So let's get a good question and answer going, and that's really spiritual. What's that, sister?
You were going to go into what you said, that our spirits, our souls, are always perfect, and how we behave on this earth is not necessarily. You're going to give us a format of how we should behave on this earth.
Okay.
Based on the fact that we're perfect, actually, spiritually.
This is one of the keys. If we have a physical body, and it's an illusion, the first thing we do is when we come into knowledge, the first thing we ask is, what can we be doing to lift ourselves up? But basically, what we know of as doing is physical. We don't know of another kind of way to do things spiritual. The main way to program the melanin is only one way to do it, and one way only. Thought. So knowledge redeems you by understanding. See, knowledge, the right knowledge, this knowledge that we're dealing with in. When you learn this knowledge, it is something that is totally opposite the way you've been taught. So therefore, the melanin has to go to work to figure out or to understand what the hell is going on. And by it going to work, just to get it to work, means in hell. It's working. So the key is, it's not a physical thing we can do. See, the first thing we do is when we learn, because I went through all the damn hardship. You know, we get into the diet, we get into the meditation, we get into that. And those things, what those things do is those things prepare the body to receive energy. But energy is not necessarily physical. Energy is also thought. So you can bypass it and get your energy just by using and utilizing the brain. But how do you utilize the brain? By giving it correct knowledge. Energy and light is also knowledge. Anybody saw Doom, the movie Doom? Go check the movie Doom now. The movie Doom is the ultimate task to raise up the gods. You have to drink the water of life. In the Kabbalah, the water of life is wisdom or knowledge. So the knowledge acts as a form of alchemy, or acts as it's the program to program the computer. So basically, you have to understand what kind of knowledge, the right kind of knowledge. Now, the Gnostic scriptures, why I am heavy on that at this particular time, because the Gnostic scriptures, when you see it, you think of some Christian stuff. But in actuality, it was put down by the Egyptian priests or the Canaanite priests at the temple of Isis. Right before that was the last temple they closed down. So they took all the stuff that was made in metal and changed it into Coptic, and then the Greeks changed it into Greek. And then the Romans came and copied that shit, and that's what you get your Bible from. So what I'm saying is about the Gnostic scripture, which is telling you a new form of nihilism, to rebel against everything around you. So that's what you need to study. So the best one out is a book that gives you different aspects. You want to get Bentley Leighton's scriptures, which is the Gnostic scriptures by Bentley Leighton. But you also want to get what is some commentary. You will need to get a book called The Allure of Gnosticism. The Allure of Gnosticism. Gnosticism is Gnosticism. And the editor is Robert A. Siegel, Sigal, The Allure of Gnosticism. And it's going to explain, and they got a whole section in here on modern nihilism, which is actually chaos magic to reprogram the brain. Another book you want to get is a book called Condensed Chaos. Condensed chaos. Chaos is the black dye I just showed you. What is condensed chaos? Melanin, because it's condensed into your brain. So you need to get a book called Condensed Chaos by Phil Hine. H-I-N-E, Phil Hine. And in that book, it's going to tell you how to rebel against all of the lower creation, because you are God and you're trying to get out of this body. And by rebelling, by putting the thought up in here, you are giving the energy to this black dot seed, and the melanin is like a Rubik's Cube. You ever see, you got a person, he takes the Rubik's Cube and he figures it out based on his mind. So the knowledge here is shaping the Rubik's Cube in your head, which forms the star, the tetrahedron, the Merkaba. All these words is all talking about black dot. You see what I'm saying? So the key is, the more time you lend to learning, is the more energy you give the melanin. We thought that, you know, we are conscious people, but we have to do things in the physical to be conscious. Fuck giving a nigga a quarter. Fuck hugging black people. All that shit will make you feel good personally. But this is a world that is through. It's finished. You can't change this shit. Let's quit romanticizing that shit. This shit is over. If anything I tell you, this is over. The average cracker will tell you that. So therefore, we're talking about getting to the next plateau. And you do that through gnosis, knowledge, knowing. And not only just knowing, see, the reading is good, but sometimes you just got to sit back and just give yourself time to think and figure this shit out. So you don't just bury yourself in the book and read a whole book. you might read a paragraph or two. Just, you know, and then sit back and just figure shit out. And do more talking to yourself. You have a higher self. And how you tap into that higher self and get that higher self in the notion, the knowing that it is alive, is to talk to yourself. This society tell you talking to yourself is crazy. Talking, but you let everybody talk to their damn self. Why would you talk to yourself if nobody else up in that bitch? Talk to yourself more. Also, at this particular time, separate yourself from around dead people. Why? I got some good friends. I love them to death. But they might come around us, they might come in town for a weekend. And every time they come in town for a weekend, we get sick. Why is that? The physical is a cheat. You don't understand what's going on. The more you understand and the more and more you grow in what is called gnosis or knowledge, the divine knowing, the more you disappear from this dimension and you go on different levels of dimension. So you can be in the same body, it can be in 3 or 4 different dimensions from a person who's dead in another dimension. So a lot of times when a dead person comes around, because they don't understand the knowledge that you're trying to get to, you have to suspend your knowledge for a while just to accommodate that dead person. So in order to accommodate that dead person, you got to go back to another dimension that you came from. And because your body is going to another dimension, it's not conducive to the foulness of that dimension and you get sick. Just by being around motherfuckers who ain't got the same light. Because that means that you have to shut down your energy to go to that energy. And when you do that shit, you get sick. So every time they come, I catch a cold. I was like, damn, I was catching a cold in fucking August. Hot ass August. took vitamin C, took echinacea, shit didn't work. Because the energy, I was in another dimension. It was just like being back in Niggerville with no shoes on, outside at down 30 degrees below. So, separate yourself from those who are not of the same energy. We will get them later. Once we illuminate, we will get them later. But right now, you got a job to do. You can't be fucking around with a dead person because a dead person keeps you dead. All right. Yeah.
First of all, do black people with clones have a black dot? And how can you detect the clone?
Okay, 2 things. First of all, that's what a clone. The only reason why they would clone you. First of all, they don't fear you enough to just kill you off. Because the only thing they got to do with black people, the only thing black people want in this country is money. That's it. A good house and all that shit. Most people out here wouldn't even be damn arguing if you paid them off. That's what I'm trying to say. The true beings on this planet will do anything for money because you've been reduced to that type of animal. So they can pay all the niggas off and kill the Negro problem. And they got enough money a million times over to set every black person here in the world out, chilling in a crib. But it's the melanin that they have to doggone get rid of, transfer of the melanated beings. They feed off the melanin because they can only take the melanin to come out of the body, because once it comes out of the body, it makes a whole nother shape. It turns into a whole nother substance. It's not the same stuff that's in the body. Because melanin, once you take it out of the body, it turns into a whole nother substance. That's the only shit that they can take. They can't take pure melanin, they would die. But the pure melanin in the body, your body is an oven and a cooker, and it cooks this particular melanin up, so therefore they can't live by it because can't live around you because it makes them ill. So they have to kill you and take you off the planet. So when they clone you, they just substitute you so they don't have this social unrest of people saying we die and go to war. So they just fool your ass. So the clone doesn't have melanin because it's the original European that don't have melanin. That's what a European was the gene splice in the clone. So it didn't have melanin. How you protect the clone is irrationality. First of all, you must do this. You have the ability to go back in time just by noticing what a person used to be at a certain time and then notice that person now. And if that person has actually reversed his entire consciousness and is very irrational, he might very well be one. A clone, he might very well be one. If a person learns knowledge and still act like a damn nigger, they might be one, for the simple fact there's no way that you can learn how to be in fucking college and still act like you're in kindergarten. Something's got to happen. That's just not humanly wrong, right?
Because I was reading the Matrix 2 book.
Yeah.
That they cloned some of the presidents and they told you that all you gotta do is look in their eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. He said that they cloned some of the presidents. I know what you were saying, and all you gotta do is look in the eye because one of the eyes are bigger than the other.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. That's one detection also too. It's in the, what, Matrix. What's that? Matrix 2? Matrix 2. About the eye bigger than the other also too. That's one way also too.
It look like zombies.
No Adam's apple.
Huh?
No Adam's apple.
No Adam's apple. I mean, there's several things.
Right. No Adam's apple.
There's several things that's actually happening. And well, one way you have to do it is to do it physically. You're gonna always be fooled. Because the physical realm is the lowest level and you can't really get no knowledge from it. The real way to do it is to ask your higher self. And sometimes the higher self will say, no, it's not. So you got to learn how to utilize that type of function. What's that, brother? Yeah.
Yes, brother. I would like for you to illustrate the molten sea. And after that, go into the red heifer.
The red heifer, the molten sea.
Yes.
I'm a little ignorant of that one. I ain't afraid to say that. Not unless if you can explain to me, I might know of something that corresponds to that, but the molten sea at this particular time.
There is nothing in your body or in the universe that is equal to it in power. It is the equivalent of taking an invisible little bit of it, and you can run the whole world and all the nations. You have it under what you're calling melanin.
Okay.
But the molten sea is that life form.
Okay.
That you talk about broke off in this world, not of the world. So now you can go into
okay. Now I understand. See, I just know it from another discipline.
Right. The so-called Jews were doing with the golden calf and the red heifer, and you know what happened there. But I want you to relate them to it. And then when you tell us again at some other point about this, you will see that you will have triggered the molten sea. That means when we go to sleep, we are rising.
Exactly.
Is that illumination? Okay?
Yeah, I understand exactly what you're talking about, and that goes back. I know the alchemical phase of that, which is the same thing as when I was talking about that throughout all the melanin, and you have all the compounds, there's one particular compound that is not of every other compound that you can find outside in nature. Is one that's a step above that.
You heard that a teaspoon of it outweighs the world.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And exactly.
That is what you say that we possess. But now how to trigger it into operation, I want to deal with that.
Okay, listen. Also, that teaspoon that they talk about, the Dogon also talk about that, the Sirius B. And that's and also in the ancient Egypt it's called technium. Star-like material is the heaviest form in the universe. Exactly. What I'm saying is there are all types of ancient ways that the ancients used to do in practices to trigger. At this particular time, the process that we need is something faster. And what I mean by that is this. And let me explain the process in what I believe is the way to do this. I had a teacher named C. Freeman L. And he used to smoke fucking beer, and he used to eat meat and all this, but yet he was, the person who was teaching us how to meditate and cut, shortcut. So we used to say, damn, this is a contradiction. You smoking and drinking, you know, you drink a motherfucking damn six-pack and shit. He used to always say, well, he used to always say, but see, when we was first young into this, we was going home, so we want to do things perfect. Because that's the way we taught to do things. We're going to be serious about it. And he used to say this and we couldn't understand it at first. But he was in his 50s. So he had gone through what we had gone through, and he used to say, man, there is a shortcut to all of that. And that's your mind, the brain computer. There's a shortcut to all of that. And he said, your thoughts can bypass. He said, you all right. If you haven't geared your thoughts up at the time, then you got to go through things to deal with the body so you can get to that particular level. But he said, over the course of the years, I found out that you can bypass that shit with mind over matter. You ever heard that word before? So therefore, the shortcut or the jump to this, and what I am putting forth, and what the Spirit is telling me, is to resituate the mind computer by literally taking your mind out of normal exercises of life, which is basically this. A brother came up to me and he said, I'm having problems getting what you say. You're talking way out. I said, no, I'm not talking way out. I said, the problem is, stop using what makes sense on the normal way of making sense and start thinking crazy for a while. I said, once you start thinking crazy for a while and all way out shit like you used to when you was a goddamn kid and everything you could believe and watching the cartoons and the mythology before you went through puberty, I said, and you start thinking way out, I said, and all of a sudden, this will sound normal. But if you thinking on the structure of what the puberty teaches you, that I must just think on a certain way, in a certain logical, rational, intellectual way, then what happens is, when you start thinking on this way, you can't get it because your brain is programmed to think a certain way. So what I'm saying is, the point on how we deal with it, or how the Spirit, I'm only going by what the Spirit tells me what I should teach, is to deal with this way by going straight to the subconscious and dealing with it on that level.
Could I help you close that?
Yeah.
Close it up, yes. You stated yourself, think back, that we were looking for our other self, right? Who is that? Your other self is feminine, is it not? Right. You also said that they created themselves, did you not? Right. When they were combined, it was the hermaphroditic period. You remember? The hermaphroditic. Exactly. So it was not in the word, and I'll use your phraseology. Motherfucker, go fuck yourself. They did that. That's how they created themselves. When the separation came, they were divided. In order for you to go back to power, don't you have to unite those two? Right. That. Okay, listen. Well, listen to this. Now, if anybody ever heard my teachings, know, if anybody heard my teachings over the last 100 lectures, that's all I've been doing for the last 5 years. Anybody heard my teachings? Have known that the feminine principle or Holy Shekinah, hell, we talked about that last night. That stage has already been set. I understand where you're coming from. Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. And that's a check and balance, and I appreciate that. But that's for some other scholar out here. Because that sure ain't attributed to me. Because if it's anybody who has put the goddess on a certain level, I'm the one. Right? And the devil defended their images just last night. And that's also a part of it also too. And the point what I'm dealing with this particular time is
I'm looking at most of the faces, it's like a reoccurring people that I've been dealing with coming to New York. And like we said at this particular time, we ain't got time for the people that don't understand. And we got to go back to kindergarten. But you are exactly right about that. That is a phase of it. But I'm not the person that's guilty of keeping it on what you call it, on that particular level.
Yeah, Bobby, maybe, and we love you so much.
Last question.
Bobby, maybe when you speak about God, maybe if you use she, people who have some more awareness instead of thinking it in terms of the way we've been conditioned to think about God. We know that you have brought that feminine principle.
Still yet, don't just look at this as the first time I'm speaking. Still yet, I'm still not guilty of that.
Right.
See, I don't know who you're talking. You must be talking about somebody else. You can't be talking about me. That's not my history of lecturing. But the first thing I start off with in all my lectures, go back and you just got to go back and study the old stuff, is talking about that spirit itself is a feminine element in the whole thing. So I don't know who you're talking about. And I understand that most people come before you and maybe you need to deal with them niggas. That ain't got nothing to do with me. What's that?
The soul has no agenda also.
Right. Yes, it doesn't have an agenda, but this is what it is. But we got to understand this particular part too. If you study the goddess, you will find, see, before you had the triple goddess is the ultimate element. When you study the goddess, you will find out that what you call masculine is only the aggressive half of the feminine. So if the gender thing is when we look at it on this physical. You see what I'm saying? On this physical. We're still talking about the oneness. And that oneness that we're talking about of the all-creator is, for the lack of a better word, a feminine principle. That's why even when they talk about, even in the Bible with the Shekinah, or the Kabbalah of the Shekinah, they say that you actually have two. The Shekinah or the Shechem in Egypt, or the Mayat principle, is that everything has to wait on balancing out through the whole cooking machine, which is the feminine principle, which is the feminine face of God. What's that, sister?
In Egypt, there was the temple called the Parthenon. And in the science, they have a principle called parthenogenesis. And it means self-generation without the male principle.
Right.
Translated in many religious cultures as the virgin birth.
Right.
So that there was in Egypt a ritual that was done in the Parthenon by women who could create without a mate.
Yeah. They can do that in Tibet. They can do that in Tibet, or the cycle of the sun, which sperm is solar-phatic energy. That's all it is. It's liquid. Sophia. Solar-phatic energy, which is liquid sun. So if the woman's body only needs the solar-phatic energy, it don't even need the liquid sun that comes through the sperm at certain rites of passage, even in Tibet. They can have children. They can get pregnant by the sun and a certain cycle or certain rites of passage. They can get pregnant by the sun. By certain times of year, but for high priestesses, they can do it through mind and harnessing the actual energy also too.
Show me your love, y'all.
Yeah.
Show Bobby your love. Get down here.